video we talk about rule 3, rule 4 and rule 7 is mainly on plotting out the root locus plot. Okay, these are all the main rules that governs it. Later on, I'll have some additional 5 and 8. I'll not go through in this video, but I will go through in the sense I'll go through the concept of what if we are given a certain value of s, how can you find the value of k, right? So in the previous video we did a lot of what if k value is equals to what. We can actually use this and then we do some equations and then we can actually find our our 3 roots. But in this case, okay, hold on. In this case, what if you are in another way you are given s, okay? So how do you want to find k, right? So what we're gonna do is also use the characteristic equation. If you remember, this is the poles of a closed loop system, characteristic equations. In other words, this is the 1 plus kgs equals to 0. So this is equals to 0, if you remember. So this is the typical rule that I'm talking about. And then, so what value of k when s is equals to minus 1.5? So you can actually sub in your values of s, and then eventually you can find your k. So say if I sub in my value of s into all these things, okay, you will have 1.5 cubed minus 1, because it's minus 1.5. Okay, so it's minus 1.5 cubed plus, it's the same thing. Okay, they are the same. And then ks is minus 1.5k and plus k. And then I rearrange. Okay, since these are all values that they have no coefficient of like s or k, whatever. So you can straight this value plus this value minus away this one. Eventually you get this one. Okay, you can solve for k already. It's pretty much quite easy. So typically the characteristic equation is quite important. So this is the so-called the long way, I would say. Okay, this is only, yeah, and then nonetheless, so if k is in the locus, it is positive. Okay, later on I'll introduce a rule. This rule will also help you to calculate this system if you don't want to sub in. As you can see, this is quite tedious, right? You're subbing in all these stuffs. And then in this method there is a certain constraint that I'll just tell you why is the constraint. So let's go back to here. So now we actually sub in s is equals to minus 1.5 and k is equals to 3.75, right? So from, okay, hold on. To prove that I calculated properly, okay, I sub in to the website, and then I just sub in 1x cubed plus 9x squared plus this 9 is the coefficient, okay, and then this 29.7 is actually some values of the when this one plus this one, something like that. Okay, so it's minus 1.5. So since k is minus 1.5, so 26 minus 1.5 is actually somewhat 24.5. Hold on a while. I thought you just don't listen to that just now. Okay, don't just throw it off. Okay, my fault. Okay, so what exactly it is that this purpose here over here is actually to sub in my value of k to see whether when I sub in my value of k, will I get back s is equals to minus 1.5. So this is the method of checking. So when I sub in k equals to 3.75 into this equation, okay, so this equation. So this is 3.75 and 3.75. So 26 plus 3.75 should be 29.75, right? So if I do out the quadratic equation to solve for the s value, which is the same method that I use to solve the rule to show you all this, when I sub in certain k, I can get certain value of s. So in this case, this is what I did. So as you can see, the value of s, there are few. And then you can see that it is minus 1.5 something. So yeah, so this k value should be correct, right? So therefore you can see, so if it's positive in this case, okay, is equals to 3.75. Okay, so it should be in the root locus, as you can see in the root locus plot. Okay, so as you can see, 3.75 is around this region. Okay, it's around here, so it's in the root locus. So with the same method, I actually plug in minus 2.5 to see what is the result. As you can see, minus 2.5 is over here, right? It's not in the root locus. So if it's not in the root locus, what do we have for k values? So I just substitute my minus 1.5 into this equation. So minus 2.5 cubed plus the same thing. Okay. Then I rearrange, I add hand here and there, and you can get k equals to minus 0.25. Right? So as you can see, it is, if you want to double check, so when I sub in k equals to minus 0.25, you can see that I have a value of all this. We have minus 2, we have all this. So you can see when you have minus 2.2 is over here, it's not in the root locus. Minus 4.2 is also not in the root locus, right? Minus 4.2, as you can see, minus 4.2. And then nonetheless, minus 2.5 is also not in the root locus. So therefore, we can conclude that if your s is not in the root locus, your k value should be minus 0.25. Okay, so this is a method to see. But however, if you are using the magnitude criterion, okay, is a little different. Okay, as you can see, the result is 3.75 and 0.25. There will be no negative sign or whatsoever. It's not shown much. I think there will be, so hold on a while. There will not be because they are all taking absolute values, as you can see. So therefore, all absolute values are all positive. So definitely you will receive a positive value. So from here, you can only get the value of k, but you can't really determine whether k is it in the root locus or not. So the shortcoming of this method is that you have to use the root locus to see whether is your point in the root locus or not. Otherwise, you're dead lah. So this is why this is two methods. So I'll leave you to think about it. And then okay, so I'll just introduce you to the rule. So this is actually rule 2. Okay, it's a magnitude criterion. So let me head you back to something else. This is actually 4.1.2, which is the rule 2 that I'm talking about. So the g of s is equals to all these things, and then it is nonetheless saying that k is equals to distance multiplication of all distance to open loop poles and divided by multiplication of distance to open loop zeros. So what are these all means, and then how does it come from? Okay, so let's go back to here. This is your characteristic equation, right? 1 plus kg equals to 0, if you remember. So this is the magnitude criterion, which is also our 4.1.2. This is angle criterion 4.1.1, right? So I'm trying to explain over here. The next video I'll explain this one, right? So this is 4.1.1, and how do we get over here? Okay, so if you remember, so let's take back to the 1 plus kg s equals to 0. This is the typical the so-called characteristic equation. So if you were to bring minus 1 over here, okay, kgs is equals to minus 1, right? Then you bring down the k, so gs is equals to k, and then you will take an absolute value. You will get 1 over k, right? So g of s, which is made up of the zeros and the poles, right? So maybe I should label it zeros, and this is poles. So far I think you understand, right? I just taking the characteristic equation, I bring the minus 1 over here, and then I bring down the k, you get this thing, and then the transfer function is v of s over a of s is equals to 1 over k, and then since they actually show you that k is equals to something, right? So therefore what we do is actually to bring up this k, and it's equals to a over s divided by b over s, right? So this goes up, and then this two flips lah. So this one goes, yeah, you see. So therefore this is actually the pose now, and this is the zeros. Okay, and then as you can see, it's the same as the open loop pose. Open loop pose and the open loop zeros. Okay, you may wonder, since this one is closed loop characteristic equation, how can you have open loop pose and zeros? If you remember, the typical open loop system is like that, right? Is equals to, so this B of A of S is just a term, so they are all the poles and zeros, that's all. So if you were to go into closed loop, this B of S A of S will always stay as B of S A of S, unless there's no unless. So that B of S A of S are always the open loop poles and zeros. That's what it is. So therefore, as you can see, these are all the distance to the open loop poles and open loop zeros. This is how it derived, but in actual fact, how you want to solve the question, right? So this is always the key question. So therefore, let's take a look, okay? So maybe I should draw a diagram. So therefore, as you can see, this is the root locus, okay, real and imaginary, and then s plus 1 is actually, this is the zeros, right? And you have the poles over here. So these are all, k helps you to determine what are the values, what are the, if let's say, okay, let's say we have an s value, which is, let's say, in our case is minus 1.5, okay, so it's the same thing as here, right, when s equals to minus 1.5. So if it's minus 1.5, it's over here, right? So it tells us that if you multiply all the distance from this thing to the open loop poles, okay, to all the open loop poles, so you have this one to minus 2, and then you have a distance to this one minus 3, so these are all the poles, right, divided by all the distance to open loop zeros, which is this one. So as you can see, if this is y minus 1.5, okay, this is s, your s value, just sub in your s value, and then minus 1.5, and then minus the 0, 1, this is 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, whatever zeros, how many zeros you have, okay, so from here, minus 1.5, minus 2, okay, yeah, make sure it is minus 2, I mean minus 2, which is, let's say this is s plus 2, right, the roots of this is actually s equals to minus 2. So this is actually somewhat z1, actually p1 this is the pose lah, right? This is the pose. That's yeah, they actually did wrongly. They didn't do wrongly, but rather than this is the transfer function. As you can see, they are inverse, right? The transfer function is inverse. This whole thing is transfer function, right? So g of s is equals to 1 over k. So k is also equals to 1 over g of s. So in this case, g of s is equals to this one. But however, k is this one. As you can see, the denominator are all poles. Then k is when the numerator are all poles now. So you just follow this one will do. Okay. So therefore, the poles, okay, the first pole that we are going to reach is actually s equals to minus 2, right? In order to make this 0, s has to be equals to minus 2. So therefore minus 1.5 minus minus 2. So this is the distance. This is actually minus 1.5 minus 2 in a certain sense. So you give so absolute value will give you the values towards distance to open loop poles, right? So this distance is 0.5, right? So the reason why they absolute this one is because, let's say if you are going this way, yeah, you have some negative sign. That's why they actually straight away take, because you just want to know the amount of movement you have, okay, how much you move. So that's why you just take absolute, that's all. And therefore, if you want to go to this one now, let's use a different color. You want to go to this place. It is minus 1.5 from this point, minus 3, and then absolute. So therefore you have 1.5, right? So this also explains the minus 4 part, minus 1.5 minus 4, and then you'll get, and then this is the poles. Okay, these are all the poles. Okay, the distance to the from the S to the open loop poles, and then these are the distance to the open loop zeros, which is 0.5 over here. So it's minus 1.5 to the open loop zeros. So if you say, if you are going here, you see minus 1.5 minus minus 1, which is minus 0.5, right? Shouldn't be, right? You're from here and you're going here, it should be plus 0.5, right? So therefore, typically you don't want to confuse anything, so you just absolute it. And then as you can see, the distance itself is just 0.5, that's all. Okay, so therefore you can get 3.75 over here. So this, as I said earlier, this method has a shortcoming, is that you cannot determine negative or positive because everything is absolute. This method can. So typically you can straight away use this one. I would highly recommend you use this one instead of this one. This one is totally waste of time. Not totally, but rather than quite tedious, like you have to derive, whatsoever. You can also do that actually. So it depends. See how you want to do it. Because the reason why we want to know negative or not is because we want to see whether is it in the root locus or not. Since you draw the root locus, you might as well you already know that it should not be in the root locus. From here you can actually see. So that's why it all boils back to your how strong you are in rule 3, 4 and 7, and also rule 5 and 8. Then I'll just go through it, but I'll just go through this one first, the rule 1. So currently we are going rule 2. Later I'll just talk about rule 1. I mean in the next video, and then I'll go back to the rule 5 and 8, which is the so-called the special case scenario. But you have to take note because it's very important. Okay, without this one, if they give you trick question, you are dead. So this one is more likely the trick question type of thing. So I'll just leave you to the understanding of this rule 2. Okay, and then I recommend you to watch Ralph Hurwitz video on. So typically, as you can see, we are determining k if we've given s value, right? So what if your root locus is, let's say, let's don't care this one, okay? Let's say if your root locus is, you have you have 3 asymptotes, and then your root locus is over here. So you are trying to determine what is the value of k over here, right? So what you're gonna do? Okay, before I recommend I think we watch together lah. So let's see. And this one is actually the open loop transfer function. Okay, as you can see, yeah. So yeah, let's continue. So this is the characteristic equation. This one is the open loop function. And then you have to do kg plus pg over 1 plus kg, you remember, and then you get a characteristic equation, and then you can solve for the big chunk over here, and then he digests it, and then continue. So this will act as a revision for you lah. Okay, so just watch together lah. Okay. If you remember, this one multiplied by this one, and then the divided by this one back. Okay, this is the typical rule. You take this one, and then you hold on a while, I forget. Okay. Sorry. Sorry. So you're taking this one, multiply by this one, minus away this one, multiplying by this one. So because this one 6 times 0 is 0, so and then this one multiplied by this one, minus this one, multiplied by this one, and then divided the whole thing by this one. Right? So therefore you're just getting back this dude over here, right? So this is why 6 plus k. Okay, if you remember. Okay, otherwise you can just jump back to my raw forest video. So in order for this thing to be 0, you have to be equals to 0. And then so if you remember, so we just come back again. It will be odd numbers, so 1 and 3 should be, the whole row should be 0, but in this case there's no k, so therefore you just leave it. If you have k, then definitely the k has to be values of 60. The reason why you choose odd is because if you remember, a quadratic equation, if you have a third order, typically you have one real number and two imaginary number, right? If you were to head back to my stuffs, okay, I don't know where am I. Okay. If you remember, if you have third order equation, right? Third order equation, you after which you if you were to solve for it, you have one real number and two imaginary number. So typically in a first order system, okay, if s right, typically you have a imaginary number also. Even though I don't understand anything, I don't know why you have to the power of 1, which is s, right? Why do you have, it should be only one imaginary number, but anyway, so when you do this type of question, the thing you need to do is actually to make it to 0 for any odd numbers, okay, and then to find the k values, and then we just watch on and then see, maybe we can understand. So yeah. as he say, you have to go back to the Ralph Harris his video. Okay, special case number 2, and then let us watch that. Maybe we can answer something. So when you print the k is equals to 60, you have 66 lah. This is what he means. So if you factorize out the 6, so you have, if you factorize 6, you get, plus 11. Okay, so hold on a while. So I believe he has really explained our concerns about why you want to make the odd numbers 0. Because if you make the odd rows 0, the second order will become an imaginary number, right? Because you can see 0, if this is 0 already, 0 times this one, everything will become 0. And therefore you straight away use the s square to do an auxiliary equation. So you have 6s squared plus 66 equals to 0. And then you bring this 11, and then you factorize 6, and then you bring this 11 over here, you have minus 11. Then you have an imaginary number over here. And this is where you get this system. It's pretty cool, so let's watch. So as k goes to infinity, right, they actually move, this is a pole and this is a pole, they actually move towards each other. It's like a double point, and then that's to let you know. So when you imagine so when k equals to 60, they reaches here, which is the point, the point where it's going towards instability. So this is the last point, after which if you cross more than k equals to 60, you are gonna go haywire, right? So this is what it means. Because k cannot be negative 6 one, right? So k always has to be larger than 0, right? This also explains why at the very first part I explained that when you see k equals to minus 0.25, you know it's not in the root locus anymore, right? So these are the things. And hold on a while. You can just watch this video, okay? And then next video, if you don't understand anything, you can just go back to watch this video. And then so next video I'll just talk about rule 1, and then lastly we'll talk about rule 5 and 8, and then perhaps I can do some questions. So I'll see you in next video.